I have a quick question. So I sent it out on the group me, but I know everybody's been busy. Ron kept referring to TS21 badges that we should have had completed by now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm lost. I'm not sure what he was talking about. I didn't see any.
That was at the beginning of last week's all hands call. It was kind of breezed through very quickly. There was a listing of training. This is a tough week for people to be taking on additional training right now. I got 5 people on this call that are desperately completing CE. We have people that are kicking off ATL training, skills to win training, small business training, Emerald Advance. So I made the executive decision to not throw more badge training because it was upwards of 15 hours of badge training. I am confident and I know that we'll get there, but we're going to kind of take a little different approach. Instead of just cramming it all in, we're going to ease it in at the right times, you know. So that's what we're referring to. And when I looked at the badges, and I really don't mean to go against the direction. A lot of the badges were TS20 badges, and the content hasn't even been updated for TS21. So give it time, and they'll probably be TS21 badges. And then there will be a mad race to get the TS21 badges, and you just spent your valuable time doing TS20. So that's why when he was talking about it today, I was like, oh God, they're all going to think we failed in something. And we got time to get to the badge training, trust me. I would rather you right now. By the way, we didn't talk about hiring. You want to talk CSP hiring, ATL hiring, you know, there's a lot going on. So, you know, I want to make sure we stay very focused on what's most important. Skills to win training, getting our ATLs onboarded. I think my dog is trying to get my chicken wings. Okay, sorry. So that's kind of an update. You know, you're gonna notice that. Look, you know, it's just, I'm gonna put the information out there, and you know, we have plenty of tools. We have the daily tracker. You have the information. You know, we have daily huddles. You know what needs to get done. So, you know, we don't have to sit here and talk about skills to win for the next 45 minutes, right? We know what needs to be done. Small business certification. There's all kinds of behind the scenes chatter right now on small business certification, and you know, are people doing the case studies at home? And Denise hit it. Hold on one second. My dog is into my chicken wings. Hey, get down.
Uh-oh. We've all been there.
Everybody loves chicken wings. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Tom, flats or drums. That's what we'll have to ask.
And were they spicy?
Yeah.
What is spicy?
Chuck, you a flats guy or a drums guy? Chuck, do you like flats or drums?
Oh, I'm all about the drums.
Oh, really? I love the flat wings, man. Once you learn how to eat them.
Oh, I mean, not that I don't know how to eat them or I don't like them, but if I'm going to choose, it's drums all the way.
Right.
Like buffalo barbecue.
Okay, sorry about that. So there's all kinds of chatter right now around small business certification and who followed the direction and took the test, the case study in office, who took it at home. And you know, we all heard the message clearly. Denise restated the message. I kind of stayed out of the fray and said we should be taking these at the offices, right? And sent that message. But now we have quarantined associates that can't come into an office. So, you know, just we're leading the charge on small business certification. You guys have gotten the emails and the communication on how many people have completed small business certification in your offices. Our goal is 2 per office. But last time I looked, and I haven't run the report, we were north of 50% of our level 3s having completed the CE portion. We were approaching 30% completing the case studies. I would be shocked if they're doing them at home, because you have to be pretty technically savvy to know how to download the Blockworks in the cloud. And I would just be surprised if as many people figured it out. So we'll see where that lands, but they're going back and they're looking at all kinds of stuff now. So more to come on that. I just wanted to make you aware. Tomorrow is the last SOP and me training. I'm conducting it at 9 o'clock. I have recorded a couple of them. So for those that have failed to make their way to one of my SOP and me trainings, they can watch the video. I'll send out an email tomorrow. You know, we had one last night. They're about an hour and 45 minutes, but we're getting through, and I'm getting better and better and better at them. It's actually pretty cool when you watch those videos 5 times. You kind of start to really see what they're trying to say. We have, you know, you guys should be very focused on CE, and, you know, not only each of you, the 5 of you, but also our team, where we stand with those that are remaining. We have about 15 that are still outstanding, and we have 10 days, right? On a hiring front, we are trudging forward. We're starting to make some good headway on TKAs. You know, we've probably signed up 2 or 3-ish this week, which is really good. First year tax pros, Trevor's, you know, working with instructors and working on best tips with Austin and calling, begging, pleading, but we're within a couple. It's fair to say, Trevor, a couple?
You could say a couple. It's moving. I'm pulling out all the stops, but we're probably, I think we're at 18 or 20. We have to have 26. And there's people in the pipeline that I'm working with. So
yeah. So I want to, the next thing on first year tax pros, they're starting to get itchy on the communication, because communication is starting to sneak out to them from other areas of the company, right? Like, you know, someone's like, hey, I got this message about such and such. Thank you for your, you know, I think it was health assessments or something. It may have been from me, actually. So the next thing to come is we really need to look at those start dates, Trevor, and, you know, kind of see when people's start dates, if we got those changed. I'm not sure if Mike did. We're going to start we're going to bump up all their start dates, and we're going to start having some first year tax pro orientations, some CE update classes, followed by SOP and me training, and the whole 9 yards. There's a lot that will be taking place in December, but keep in mind, many of our first year tax pros don't clear and take the exam until December 22nd. So we're not behind. We're just trying to position ourselves better. I heard some chatter there on ATLs, and maybe Denise was talking ATL. No? Is that wishful thinking?
I don't have ATLs. I just hired another CSP.
Oh, what about Sarah? Did you get in touch with Sarah Westbrook?
Yeah. I have not got in touch with Sarah. I talked to Trevor earlier, and I'll probably just end up sending her a text message. I think, well, like I said yesterday, people get that my weird 307 number, and so they don't even listen to the message. They just delete. So I'm going to shoot her a text.
Okay. And I think, Chuck, we were talking about moving forward with Paris. Is that right? Or you had another email or another interview, Trevor?
Let me just, Denise, let me know if you don't get a hold of Sarah. Sometimes it's just if they have, a contact, it's harder to introduce a new person. So I'll reach out to her if you can't get a hold of her.
right.
Why don't you make the introduction to Denise
Okay.
via an email and say, we've had some things come up and we would love for you to meet the MTL, right?
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Good.
let's kind of jump on that because next
Yeah.
week is a down week, and if we can get them up and onboarded and get them self-studying sooner rather than later, they can get caught up quicker. But if we wait until after Thanksgiving, is going to be really, really tough. Okay. Chuck, I know, Trevor and I had spoke and Austin had interviewed as well. Paris. We know, so we're going to extend an offer there. Is that correct, Trevor?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing. We'll just leave it at that. Here's the thing. We've been given approval to overhire 2 ATLs and really then identify some high caliber ATLs and put them in kind of an MTL and training program for many reasons. One, in case anything happens in any of our leadership ranks, right? And two, in case, God forbid, one of you guys, get coronavirus in the middle of the season, right? So we're going to start building our bench. So what we're now looking for, guys, is as we're on these calls with the ATLs and you have, your interactions with your ATLs, we need to quickly force rank and identify who our top ATLs are. Who are the ones that are naturally communicating, showing better leadership, and bubbling up to the top, and start identifying them and exposing them to more MTL calls, things such as this, right? As you're going through and hiring and interviewing CSPs, most of our best applications come from people who apply for the CSP role, and they have incredible backgrounds sometime. So we're going to be refreshing Althea to get more applications your way for CSPs. But, at the beginning of this week, we talked about everyone interviewing and everyone was given an updated spreadsheet. So what was the outcome of that, Trevor? Did we get some good movement on the CSP side?
Not as good as I would have liked to see. We're at 18 currently hired. There is maybe 3 or 4 kind of in the pipeline that we're going through. But yeah, we need to get more than that.
Okay, so let me be real straightforward here. If we're at 18 or 20 hired and we need to be at 43, our deadline is 11:30. 11:30, so 10 days from now. 10 days from now, because the training for CSPs kicks off on 12/7. Okay, so each of you have the spreadsheet, have the list of names, and it's a quick 10-minute interview, thumbs up or thumbs down, right? Don't overcomplicate this, but we can't wait until 12:15 to hire CSPs, okay? So, I got off the phone with Trevor earlier and I said, listen, I hope you have a plan for tomorrow because, we got to be making phone calls tomorrow, into next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got to get this done. We have to hit that deadline. We have to be hired up on CSPs by 11:30. So
Hey,
you guys have the
I
tools.
unfortunately went 0 for 2. I got 2 no-shows from the interviews the last couple days, so I wasn't able to get a hold of them. So it's less than ideal.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, I made 7 calls yesterday and didn't get anybody on the phone, but they did
Yeah.
3 of them called back. I did have 3 interviews. I just offered one, and I have 2 interviews after we get off this call today. So
Cool.
Bam,
Cool.
baby.
and then I think I have 7. So if anybody, if they're good, but and I have some candidates that might be worth looking at for ATL, and I already talked to Trevor about the one of them. So
Okay.
Denise
Awesome.
is moving and shaking.
Yeah, I mean,
And
let's move on. That's like, let's leave on go on on a high note. That was good stuff. That's what I want to hear, right? And it's just a matter of making it happen, balancing your time.
I would just
Okay.
add one thing to that. Just don't hesitate to follow up. You know, if you guys reach out to them once, you know, make a note that you reach out to them again, and before they drop off, you know, before you give up on it. Don't just give up with one contact.
Yeah, and also, guys, the list you're working off of is a little aged, right? It's 3 or 4 weeks old. So when I get this out the pumped up and a new listing on there, we'll get another batch of 30 to 40, right? So we'll work on that as well. I think that's all the housekeeping things that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm not going to go look at the daily tracker. So while I'm going through this, maybe you guys can update your daily trackers, right? So
great
that
idea. Don't look at that yet.
yeah, so I feel good with that. So what are we talking about this afternoon? Let's see. What do we got here?
I think it's leading virtually.
Yeah, that's what I have written down. Leading virtually. God, I hope I'm good at it, because that sounds important. And 3 hours. This is a beefy one. Leading virtually.
Do I get equivalent credit from moving 3 days worth of my office operations over to a new office from my quarantined room?
Not really. Thank you, though. Do appreciate it. I felt like calling Ron last night and saying, do I get some extra credit for like working from 6 in the morning till midnight and dealing with all this?
Right.
And then I quickly answered myself and I said, I get to keep my job, which is a good one. Okay, guys.
Real
Okay.
quick, Tom, before you start your presentation, I just want to say that if I have to jump off and on, we scheduled this time over my cleaning ladies here, so I may have to mute and you won't see me, or you'll see me like this so that she can clean.
No worries. Priorities, Denise. You got to prioritize the cleaning lady.
Absolutely.
Okay, so leading virtually. Welcome to Leading Virtually, where you will learn how to adapt your communication and leadership skills to lead satellite offices remotely. You will learn and practice conducting remote office visits, feedback coaching sessions, leading virtual meetings, and how to manage work from anywhere associates. Oh, this is going to be good. You know, some of the feedback that I got, and one of the things that I'm going to be doing, feedback from last week, I started reaching out to some of you individually, and all of you that I spoke to are really kind of craving those one-on-one dedicated times. And what I'm going to try to do is really have more structured dedicated time, so that it's not just rambling on and on about whatever the hot topic of the moment is. So more performance based. Where do we stand on these milestones, right? So be ready for that. Okay, objectives. Communicate effectively with associates via phone, email, and video conference. Conduct effective feedback and coaching conversations with associates in office and working from home. There's a huge part of our AES feedback in some of our year-end exit interviews was our teams did not feel like they were getting performance reviews, which is interesting because I feel like all we talk about is results and performance. So, you know, I think there's, you know, sometimes we may be saying things, but it may not be coming across exactly landing the message. So I think this is going to be good content. Analyze data to identify purpose of visits and one-on-ones, and prioritize your time and method of addressing action items. And lead productive and purposeful virtual meetings. Conduct intentional and impactful remote office visits. Communication skills. You know what I didn't do? Give me a second. I'm going to back out and turn on my audio over here. There we go. Okay. Does anyone know how, like right now on my screen, what I see is just my presentation. Does anyone know how to get my presentation and then pictures of you guys? Or you know what I could do? Hold. Just move you guys over here. There we go. Okay. So I'm split screen now, so I can see you over here and here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about communication skills. I don't know what that is. Is that an email? IDK, ETA, but visit. Okay, don't know exactly what that is. Video 1, remote communication skills. Share with your Microsoft Teams, record notes. Okay, here we go.
I think the notes above was bad communication.
Is that what that was? Yeah, I would say that is bad communication because I couldn't even tell what it was. So could you guys hear?
That lists effective communication.
You guys hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Skills on it. Have you ever read a resume that lists effective communication skills on it? At one point, that was a key skill that employers looked for on resumes. Maybe you even had it or have it on yours. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be an effective communicator? An effective communicator conveys their message clearly and succinctly, without room for confusion or misinterpretation. An effective communicator is self-aware enough to pay attention to not just the words they say, but the nonverbal cues they send. Communication is constructed of words, tone, inflection, facial expressions, and body language. But what happens when we take out one of these? What happened with the text message scenario you just discussed? Well, we know the message wasn't clear. Since it was written, we couldn't hear the tone to figure out if it was good or bad. The tricky part of communicating without being face-to-face is that you lose all nonverbal communication cues that accompany most spoken messages. One requirement of effective communication is the same, regardless of the mode of delivery: purpose. Why are you communicating at all? What is the purpose of your message? Is it to inform, to persuade, to praise or thank, to direct or redirect? Be very clear about the purpose of your communication. What do you want the receiver of the communication to do after the communication is over? Starting with absolute clarity of purpose is half the battle. So let's talk about some of the elements of effective communication and how you adjust them when not face-to-face. Choose your words carefully. As the saying goes, time is money. Whether verbal or written, put yourself on a word budget and challenge yourself to say it with as few words as possible. Every minute a tax professional spends not doing a return costs them money. Be respectful of their time and succinct in your communication. Have you ever heard of $5 words? These are unnecessarily complicated or pretentious words. One of the most common examples of this is using the word utilize instead of use. So take care to use simple language. It's always easier to understand. When you communicate verbal, call instead of use. So take care to use simple language. It's always easier to understand. When you communicate verbally, your voice reveals so much about your attitudes and emotions, not just the message itself. Use your voice to the fullest by changing pace, volume, and inflection. This is particularly important when communicating over the phone or on a Teams call without video. People can't see your facial expressions and body language, so they're forced to grasp the message from your words and tone only. Use your voice expressively and purposefully to take away ambiguity for the receiver. I do suggest that you take extra care when you speak about a topic that is new to you. When we aren't connected to the subject, we typically say those messages with less animation, more monotone. When we're connected to what we're saying, inflection kicks in naturally. So you need to force yourself to animate the words even when you're less comfortable with the subject. Active listening is an important part of communication. We've all been there when you're talking to someone and you get this nagging feeling that they're not really listening to you. Picture that person looking at their cell phone or laptop when you're talking to them. They're only half listening to you without any real intention of participating in the conversation. If you're face-to-face with someone, you demonstrate active listening by making eye contact and nodding. You may paraphrase a point they stated to make sure you understand it. But what about when you can't make eye contact and see the head nods? How do you show the other person you're listening to them? Let me address that first by saying, here's what you don't do. Don't say, while clicking and typing on your keyboard. I can hear that. Don't go completely silent and use the time I'm talking to do something else like read an email or a report. Silence for too long makes me think either A, the call dropped or froze, or B, you stopped listening to me and are definitely doing something else. When I'm talking to someone without seeing them, I actually make a point to stop every minute or so and say, you know what I mean? Or, did you know that? I create questions just to validate that they're still in the conversation with me. Don't make me work so hard to know if you're really listening. If you're on video, know that I can see your eyes moving around on camera, which tells me you're not looking at me. You're looking at your email or some other document. When you're listening on camera, your eyes remain locked on the person speaking. Now, you are going to hear this later in the course, that there are times when you're expected to be typing notes during a conversation. The caveat is that you tell the other person you'll be taking notes, so they know it and don't take offense when they hear the typing. In that scenario, the smartest thing to do is take your notes in a way that both of you can see them as you type them. You'll learn more about that in just a bit. Let's get back to written communication for just a minute. I've already said that the number one requirement is that your message must have a purpose. Make sure the purpose is not just to prove you delivered your message. Other than formal performance management communication, you should choose how to deliver the message based on the message itself. Text implies urgency, whereas email is used when something could be read anytime. But what about Teams? When should you use the messaging functionality of Microsoft Teams versus email? I can only answer that in terms of my own experience. I chat in Teams when I need to have a short, quick, back and forth kind of Q&A type of conversation with someone about a topic of some urgency. If it will take more than 3 sentences, I tend to wait to say it out loud. I either pick up the phone and call them, or I schedule a call based on their calendar availability. I'd also suggest that you never send bad news in an instant message. And also be careful using abbreviations. You never know if the person knows the abbreviation or not, so err on the side of not unless you're certain that they know it. Now about the bad news thing. You have to believe that feedback and coaching is not bad news. If you need to have a coaching conversation with a tax professional in one of your satellite offices, you can absolutely do that on Teams or the phone. You still need to respect their time and make sure that both of you are in a private enough space to have a productive coaching conversation. That being said, some coaching conversations should be held in person. For example, when you are addressing a behavior you've addressed before more than once, you may want to be in person to get that eye contact and confirm understanding through both verbal and nonverbal cues. In short, you can have meaningful and productive conversations with your associates even when you're not face-to-face with them. It takes self-awareness and situational awareness to do so successfully.
That appears to be the end of the video. Some really great tips there. You know, I think one of the things that Ron requires of us is we always have to, if on a conference call, we always have to have our monitors on, our video on. And that's so that we know, he knows, we're engaged. So right now there's only a couple of y'all, and I know some may be on phones and whatnot. There goes 3. So it's kind of like, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone in a room, hey, Tucker, when you're having a conversation with someone in a room, you don't go stand behind the door and talk to them. That would just be kind of odd. So, you know, you could see during this video, I was chatting and trying to figure out if the new video monitors, if we're able to use Teams. So Chuck, were you able to use Teams, use the video monitors and whatnot in Teams?
Yes, I happened to be in Welshire when the ops came by and put them in. And so the next day I dropped back by and messaged with Trevor on them. And they did, in fact, audio and mic was up and running for those, at least in Welshire.
Awesome. So, you know, one of the things that I think is going to be important, and you hear me kind of nudging you guys with the MTL or with the ATLs. Remember, this time last year, they weren't even in the fray. You know, you weren't connected with the ATLs until 3 weeks from now. So now you can be working with them, having video calls, and really getting comfortable with the tools that we have. Okay. Remote leadership. I am really, and going back to that last one, I think I'm very guilty of getting on the soapbox and just talking. And it may all be good philosophical stuff, right? But I think when time is so pressing, you need concrete things, right? And especially tax pros. So, you know, I think we can all learn from this, myself included. So let's learn a little bit about remote leadership. Watch this video that your DGM, okay. And I'm not gonna make it full screen because I want to, and you can be following along in your own workbook, split screen. I wanna take notes as I'm going along here.
Much like communication in general, when you lead from a distance, everything you do must be more intentional. The trap is out of sight, out of mind, and you must be intentional each day about the associates you lead who are not physically present where you are that day. This means the associates in satellite offices, but it also means the associates in your primary office when you are physically visiting a satellite office. Before we go much further, let's focus on some things you must do to lead a team of people toward a desired result. You must set expectations. This includes expectations for results, but also behaviors. You must build trusting relationships with others. You have to be able to trust that people are going to do what they're supposed to do when you're not there, and they need to trust that you will be fair. You need to motivate behaviors. If all you needed to do was tell someone what to do and they did it, we wouldn't need leaders. You have to influence how they get to the results. You must monitor execution. Again, if all it took was saying what to do, we wouldn't need you. If you take the time to set an expectation and influence a behavior, you better do the follow-up to make sure it happens. When it doesn't, you must correct the performance through feedback and coaching. When it does, you must praise and recognize your people. That's a pretty simplistic way of looking at what leaders do, but it gets the job done. Those are still the core tasks of a remote leader. It's just the interpersonal dynamics and methods change when leading from a distance. Remember, everything you do must be intentional. How you spend your time, the impact you have with associates, and the results they achieve as a result of it. You will take a deep dive into home-based planning in the course called Leading the Office Experience. Your home-based planning is what drives all your actions, so we're going to dip into it a little bit in this course. Home-based planning consists of data analysis and prioritization. You will analyze how each of your offices performs at the 5 SOPs using the appropriate reports and dashboards. Through careful analysis, you will identify what each office and each tax professional does well and what areas they underperform in. You'll use good judgment to choose how you spend your time each day and each week. Once you've done the thorough analysis on each of your offices, you can prioritize the actions you need to take based on your findings. You are expected to formally visit each of your offices at least once a week. The analysis and prioritization you do in home-based planning will help you determine what type of visit is needed, remote or in person. Before we get further into what should happen in an office visit, I want to talk about analysis and prioritization. Analysis means to examine the details of the results in each of the SOPs. You're looking for the wins and the gaps. Wins deserve recognition. Gaps demand coaching. Analysis requires you to be familiar with the reports and dashboards for each of the SOPs. The more you look at them, the faster your eye will see what you need to do about them. Prioritization means weighing the potential impact of the action. What action will bring you the biggest results the fastest? Choosing how to follow up is about applying situational awareness and good judgment to determine how to act on it. For example, if you are an MTL and your data tells you that there is one tax pro in a satellite office that drags down the overall client experience survey results, do you need to go in person to coach that tax pro? Not necessarily. Now, if there are other action items related to that satellite office that point you to an in-person visit, then of course, have that coaching conversation in person. What you'll discover is that each situation will drive how you execute the follow-up, in person or remote. In a moment, you will try out home-based planning for practice. Your leader will take you through an activity to analyze 3 common dashboards. Because I know some of you might be new to these, I'll give you a quick crash course in them right here. The first report is the Medallia dashboard, which shows you the results of client experience surveys. It includes ratings and verbatim comments. At the top, you see your office rating compared to the region and market and broken down by new and prior clients in addition to the combined average. If you scroll further down this dashboard, you'll see ratings for each of the questions, also broken down by new versus prior versus total, as well as verbatim comments. Scroll down a little further and you'll see Tax Pro Ranker with all your tax pros and their average scores for each question. This is a great place to spot opportunities. At the top, you might see new client scores are low on a question, and then you get down here and you can pinpoint which tax pros are having trouble with that question. This dashboard alerts you to client issues that you need to follow up on and resolve, and detractor calls you also need to make. It also alerts you when your tax professionals get a perfect score from a client. Scroll down a little more and you can see trends, both year-over-year trends and trends over the course of the season. Lots of insight here. Do your TaxPro scores dip down during peak volume? When analyzing this report, look for both recognition and coaching opportunities. Some opportunities will be more urgent than others. The second report is the Work Center dashboard. This tells you at a glance the quantity of returns in each status. You can see how many drop-offs are in process, how many returns are completed but awaiting client signature, how many are coded as work in progress for one reason or another. You can see escalations that need your attention and how many messages clients have sent that haven't been read, are at risk of being read late, or are read on time. These are the clues, and you can double-click anywhere on here for the rest of the story. For example, this is the double-click under Work in Progress. You can click the down arrows to change the filters. The third dashboard is Appointment Manager. Again, at a glance, you can see if an office has the right balance of appointments and yellow space, which means they're available for walk-ins. You can see if the appointments have been confirmed and whether the client uploaded documents in advance of the appointment. In your participant workbook, I've put the legend for Appointment Manager colors and icons that will help you in your practice activity. All of these reports show you the headline, and every one can be drilled in deeper to uncover the detail you need to know to truly determine what action to take. Now I'm going to turn you back over to your leader to practice home-based planning for intentional action.
That's some good stuff. It took exactly 2 weeks to show a screen of Work Center and like really some of the things that we're going to be doing. So guys, when you think about everyone on this call, with exception of Chuck, and Kelsey and Lenny are not on right now. When you think of last year and you ask yourself, did you do home-based planning? And if you did do home-based planning, was it effective? And what stood in your way? So before we even get into the activity, let's have some open conversation around, did we do home-based planning? And what does that mean exactly? So does anyone feel like they had like a really effective, I spent the first hour of my day doing this?
Once it got really deep in the season, I would be really upset if I got into an office at 9 o'clock and I hadn't looked at Appointment Manager yet. So definitely trying to just know who's working, what the day looks like and where the clients are and all that stuff for all the offices, just so you can, and then that really helps plan all your conversations and your leadership, and you can say, I need to talk to this person about this and all that, but just knowing where everybody's at is a good start.
Yeah, so I'm very guilty of this too. At the beginning of every season, I say, I'm going to do this every day by this time. And that's why those huddles are so important to me. So any other, like, it's hard, right? Sometimes you would come in with the best laid out plan, and next thing you know, you look up, it's 1 o'clock, and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even made it to I haven't even signed on yet. Mm-hmm. So what are some of those go ahead, Austin.
Well, I was going to say, I really didn't get in a great habit of that until the extended season with you and Jose, where I feel like I got way locked in better in that. Actually, at home, it was very helpful for me to go into Power BI, and I had a daily communication that I had to put together every day. And the communication, in some ways, knowing that I had the same segments every day, made it so I kind of like had a routine scavenger hunt of, I went into Power BI and I would check what was our productivity metric from yesterday. Where did we stand in relation to our magic number compared to what we were counting down toward? And and what did the appointment pipeline look like every day. So I was able to hit the appointment manager dashboard, those productivity metrics in Power BI, and all of that stuff in a unique, uniform way every day. I would get up and do that at like 8:30 at home, and then get the communication out. Try to have it out by 9 so that by open everyone had it.
What did we call those, Jose or Austin? I want to pull up an example. What did you guys call those? I can't remember what subject we used.
Let me forward you one.
You got one?
I'll forward you one.
So, guys, Jose, I rudely cut you off there. What were you saying, Jose?
Oh yeah, it's all about that routine, for sure.
Yeah. So, Jose and Austin and I, we really, from day one almost of the extended season, we made a commitment to one another. And we said, I kind of laid out a skeleton of a communication to Austin's point of these are the key things I'm going to look at. And then it was up to Jose and Austin to tailor the message and customize it to their pairings, their group. And then we made a commitment to one another that communication would go out to their entire teams and copy me in. By 10 o'clock was our goal. Some days we opened at 11, so it would come out at about 11. And I think you got it. And I think, thank you. I think you can hear from, kind of their response. And I know from the team's response, the team being the tax pros, it was very well received. Okay. So I don't know what the message will be this season. I don't have the skeleton made yet. It's too early. But look at the format. Who's the team? Happy Sunday, a nice intro message. Guys, nothing to say but stellar work yesterday. We led the region in returns and revenue, only operating from 8 to 7. That's a productive day. A Kronos bug is making it impossible to gauge productivity, but guessing we landed over 0.35. Man, that message from you, a leader, and not Tom, lands, right? It's like personalized. And then we always followed the same format, bolded, underlined, italics, productivity from the last 7 days. And with those Kronos issues, wanted to highlight our top performing offices for a week of the full-time squad, the Buckley, so he starts going into recognition at the local level and probably pulling this report. This is probably a Power BI report.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Pipeline for today. And by the way, guys, it was amazing to me. We literally built this spreadsheet, and we kind of trained on it a little bit. And every day, every single day, Jose and Austin filled this thing out and communicated it. And it showed us how many appointments we had scheduled, how many hours, what the projected productivity was, and then calculated out if we were going to be over or under. It was an incredibly granular look at the business. And not only did we do it for one day, we did it 3 days out. Unbelievable. And by the way, guys, we were the only district in the Denver market to make it. And I guarantee you it was because of some of these types of things. The magic number, our great day parlayed, that's a $5 word, Austin, parlayed into a new daily high. 142 priors served on Saturday left us with 861 to go. Chuck, when you read that and you saw 861 clients to go, did you think we were ever going to make our goal?
No, I was pretty worried that we were just gonna be the short.
Yeah. We weren't, well, we missed it slightly, but dang, we got close. Hoping the Sunday gang knocks us under 800. Small little bites. He's eating an elephant. And he's noticed the way he's managing the team, involving not only yesterday, but being forward and saying, I hope this Sunday team can help us get to a goal, a tangible goal. Lots of priors on the books. It's going to be razor thin to the very last hour to hit this. We knew, didn't we, Austin and Jose, and John was on at the end. We knew how tight we were going to be. And then we started talking about what we needed to do, and we started cutting and pasting reports, and these reports every day. So we'll come up with something like this, but I really, really like what she said up here, this line. We have to build trust with one another. And I'm not talking about, trust is a big word. We have to be able to trust one another that we're going to deliver, that we're going to execute on what's being asked. I have to be able to trust that if we say fill out a daily tracker, we fill out a daily tracker. If we say communicate with ATLs, we communicate with ATLs. So, this is going to be a big piece because there's going to be lots of asks. Let's just make sure we can trust one another to deliver that consistent message. Okay, we're going to be here till like 9 o'clock at night if I'm not careful. Okay, activity, home-based planning analysis. Below the chart where you can enter your analysis items, and the appointment manager legend, which will help you analyze data. Note, you can click on any image and incline to zoom in or to make it larger for viewing. Okay, so look, we don't need to dig. The beautiful part of this group is everyone has seen this report, and you saw it this morning. So we have the Medallia report. Everyone knows appointment manager. And then we have the work center tool. Okay, so make a list of items to follow up on each dashboard. Your list should include both positive wins that you can recognize associates or teams for, and areas of opportunity that you will want to dig under and coach to improve the performance. Okay. So we could spend all day on each of these reports. At a glance, they said I could click on that and it will make it bigger. Well, that did work. And then up here, I can make it bigger. Nice. Okay, guys, at a glance on this report, what stands out? And remember, always go to the good. What's going really well from a CES point of view in this office? What's good? Just high level.
Ask the right questions.
Prior client or
Oh yeah. Prior clients.
Yeah, ask the right questions and all deductions and credits. What does that tell me is happening? When I see those two questions, what specifically is being done well at that office?
The interview.
Interview. Because each of these questions is geared toward a certain group. Okay, now what's not as good?
pricing.
Okay. And
Overall intent to return is below the goal.
And clients are a little weak.
What's that? Clients what?
New clients are a little weak.
And intent to return, yeah. And over here, tax tips. So we know it's interesting to me. This one is really interesting because usually where this is low, these are low because these are all interview driven. So the beginning of the interview is in great shape, asking the right questions, digging through, getting the deductions. I'm really curious, Chuck, because I put you up there at one of the best that we have as far as an interview recap, right?
Mhm.
What do you think's going on here? What's your best practice for driving tax tips home?
I think what's going on there is once they've got the return finalized, they just finish flow it. Don't talk about anything at the end. They just kind of, oh, and now we're done. And the client's just left kind of sitting there thinking, well, what about next year? What do I need to do? What's tips planning? And they're just left high and dry. Whereas I like to, nail out every detail on the return, make sure they know what they've got this year and what's some potential things to go forward.
So how long, Chuck, does it take you on a typical return? How much time do you dedicate to the wrap up?
Okay, so I'd say the opening interview before I even punch a key is probably anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. The
Wow.
data entry is somewhere, depending on documents, around 10 to 15, maybe 20, 30 minutes, depending on complexity. And then the closing portion is another 15 at least, talking and explaining the return and going through the closing screens.
So I think, guys, the first time I saw Chuck give an interview, I thought he was crazy. I was like, there's no way these clients are engaged. The level of detail he was going into, I was shocked. They were fully engaged, asking questions in a dialogue that I rarely see. So, Chuck's going to be our subject matter expert on interview skills. And, I think this is where we can really raise the bar on this overall client experience. And I think if you do 1, 2, 3 very well, this number is going to continue to grow. And I don't want us to beat ourselves up on price value ratio because it's improving consistently year over year. Okay. So good, some high level things that we notice there. What do you notice on this dashboard? Appointment manager. 3 things. Anyone?
Still red. Nobody's assigned to them.
Yeah.
It's today.
Is
And
it
the
today?
office is closed.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's red. It's unconfirmed, so we didn't see it. It's later in the evening. I think that's the point they want us to hit here. Is do we miss this from time to time? Chuck, Jose, Austin, have we missed some of these? Fewer than we used to. But yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'm seeing on that one. Come down here, dashboard. We got to get into the habit. I think it's not a mistake that they have you looking at 3 reports. What are the reports? CES Appointment Manager Dashboard. They're telling us the recipe, right? This is the roadmap. So what are some things? Where do you go first on this? Because this is a rabbit hole if there ever were one. Where do you go first?
Messages, probably.
Maybe. Why messages, Jose?
Oh, I guess not in this case because they're not past due.
Yeah, that's
Work in progress over there on the left.
Yeah, I said maybe here. I think typically he's right. Messages is where your eye has to go first because that's a client interaction, right? But maybe I don't. It's green light go. This one is in good shape. Do I have any other more pressing things? Escalations? Nope. No client escalations. Am I concerned here with virtual returns? Yeah. Yeah, I got 5. I got some past due ones. I got 2 with missed SLAs. And as we bust through these, we go over here. So what is concerning in this area? Where does your eye go first here?
The approval lines, system holds. There's 10 of them.
Okay, that's interesting.
8 pending payments is where my eyes jump to.
Why?
Because I want to finish them. I want that payment done and out the door and be gone.
So I really like the way you guys are thinking, because it's not the way I think, right? I'm like, what are we falling behind in? And you guys are saying, give me more. I need to finish these returns. I need to get these returns going, right? Kind of interesting. Is this important over here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was in progress. That was our low hanging fruit from the extended season. I think that's why I went there quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Low hanging fruit. In progress AOL system holds. We could spend a whole day talking about this screen right here. Get comfortable in the dashboard and make sure your team from day one is using this, because I'm telling you, I'm living right here. This is where I'm going to spend 90% of my time is on this right here, because this is the client experience. Okay, good stuff. Anything else anyone want to call out on this screen?
I've got a question about the virtual returns, because they said they were doing away with the virtual services since we're going to this the new model. So I was curious if that was going to remain or how that was going to change.
No, and Chuck, you'll learn this in our training. A lot of times they're still in development of things and they're releasing, like when we're talking about SOP and me, they say, we're going to show you a screen that we will be rolling out in the weeks to come, probably later in December, because development of this stuff takes a long time. They've been working on it and fine tuning it. So it's a great point. Virtual, guys, is pretty much down to just Tax Pro review. I've already signed up all of last year's virtual tax preparers to come back on as virtuals. I'm going to be selecting 20 more this weekend and pushing 20 more forward. I don't think this will be here this year because they said they have integrated the virtual and the WIP dashboards into one. Good call out. Prioritize your list in order of importance, with importance being driven by how impactful it will be to your results to address that item. Lastly, label each in either remote or in person to identify the best way to discuss this. That's a really great point. Okay, so think back, appointment manager, or I'm sorry, CES. Is it the number one thing that we talk about right today? What's the first thing on this list based upon the 3 reports that you saw? You saw CES, you saw appointment manager, and you saw work center. Give me the 3 priorities.
CES, appointment manager, and work center. You mean what do you mean?
On these
Schedule
3
readiness,
reports
or
here, let's go back. On these 3 reports, if you were doing home-based planning, if you were doing home-based planning, of these 3 reports, the things that we just reviewed and called out, what would be the first thing that you address in the morning?
I would say appointment manager.
Missing appointment, yeah.
Yeah, that missed, the one that needs attention, the missed personnel.
Unscheduled appointment, absolutely. Priority, number 1. Follow-up method, how are you going to get this taken care of?
You can do it remote.
Call somebody.
Well, if I was there, I would call them. If I was doing this from home, I would call my CSP or send them a message and let them know that this was outstanding and they needed to please work on that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting in the communication. They said email's something that can be gotten to later. Text is really the most urgent one. So any of you that have been CDAS captains, you know this well. You'll see me as I'm going through saying, hey, we got a CDAS appointment. Do you have this covered? Yes or no? Sometimes the answer I get is, wow, I missed that. Sometimes the answer I get is, we're on it. No worries. Okay. Okay. What's another one? What's another item here that we would call out? We know the client, so we got appointment manager. Is CES something that's immediately pending? Is that going to impact a client like in the moment, right? That's a bigger, broader thing. So let's dig into Work Center.
I might even look at the virtuals that are missed in Work Center. That could be pretty time sensitive.
Also, with that, rejects potentially that popped up, want to make sure that they get taken care of and not left behind.
I don't think there were any, though.
There weren't any on that report, I don't believe. Yeah.
Okay, so.
But we were just making an actionable item list, so thought I'd throw it.
What's that?
We were just making an an item list to check every morning, so I thought that would go on.
Oh, is this a general list or is this based on these things?
Doesn't matter.
I think it's based on these. So what's more important, the pending payments or the in progress or this leadership follow-up?
Leadership.
Maybe the system holds. It depends what's gone. It's 3 categories in those: the in progress ALLs or system holds. Those got returns get finish off really quick. Click that button.
I mean, I think it's important here because they're all important, right? But how we go about them and how we prioritize them into our day. So I think what I would probably do if it's home-based planning before anyone gets in here, personally, and your list may be different. I'm not saying this is the must way. I might say, let me get that leadership knocked out quickly before anyone comes in. And then I might go into mining fruit, right? System holds, right? And then down here was pending payments, right? Because system holds may take a little bit more, pending payments may just be, how are you? Some of y'all are really great at driving pending payments, and mining them. I think one of the challenges and questions you have to ask yourself when you're trying to clear pending payments, who's doing it? Are you doing it? Are you involving your tax pro? Is it your ATL? Mm-hmm. What's the best practice around clearing a pending payment?
You just need to call the client and get in touch with them. So you could have CSPs do it or tax pros.
Okay, so call client. Austin, what's your approach on clearing a pending payment? Is that a tax pro responsibility? How do you lead it? Is it your responsibility as an MTL? I'm afraid we lost Austin.
Isn't the answer kind of like all of the above?
Okay, it is kind of all the above, but how do you lead it? You have pending payments. You have, and between your 3 offices, maybe you have 15.
Oh, well, I mean, I usually just call them because I introduce myself and I wanna make sure that everything's all right and that's the lowest of hanging fruit. So like, I'd rather just try to secure that myself because there's the fewest obstacles to payment.
Is it realistic that you're going to call 20 clients?
Yes, amidst the 75 that I need to call, yes.
So Denise is shaking her head. What do you think, Tucker? Are you going to be able to, if Tom says, hey, we want to, sorry, I'm looking around my own monitor here. If we want to, drive some revenue and work on these pending payments, how do you drive that? This is really important, guys, because many of us are going to say the best person to clear this hold is who? me. I do it better than anyone. Better than your ATL?
I think, though, that a lot of the times when I get to a pending payment, it's not just they didn't have money to pay. There's something wrong there. It's almost like a client break.
But I think you have to set your whole team up for success. If you're saying nobody can do it better than me, then you haven't trained your ATLs to do it properly. I mean, everybody thinks they can always do it the best, but if that's your thought process, like you said, Tom, then no, you haven't trained your ATLs to do it properly. You haven't trained CSPs, tax pros, anybody to call those people to get those payments made.
I forgot I had ATLs, so that's a good answer.
I think it really, the reason, there's no answer. There's no right or wrong answer here. But I think, I love the conversation because it went right to driving results, right? And if we don't kind of think through this process and kind of come up with a methodology, we begin to chase things. And it's not a systemic approach. It's, okay, everyone, today everyone's focus goes to connect calling. Okay, we got that done and we're above the milestone. Now everyone go over here and do this. And now everyone go here and do this. And, it is a process. So I totally hear what Austin is saying is, if you're stuck in pending payment, there may be a need to get the manager involved to understand why it's hung up there. But Austin said it in his first words. He said, I go, is it realistic to call 20 clients? And he goes, on top of my 75 calls. And really what he was saying is, boy, I'm already busy, right? And I think to Denise's point, and what I'm pushing for is, how are you going to use your ATLs? And how are you going to use your tax pros and CSPs to bite this thing off, to get it all done, right? So we don't have to answer this today. This is a thought provoker. But what you'll see in my messaging, and I've done a lot of pretty standardized templates on emails. One may be client growth, and I'll always have a section on WIP. And I'll always have a section saying, what are some things that we could do today to drive it? And at my level, I say focus on pending holds, pending payments. And that's where it comes down to you guys to say, okay, he said pull the pending payment lever. And what that means is I need to make sure all my tax pros, if it's pending payment, I should be able to go into WorkCenter, look at the note and say, understand why it's pending payment. And glance at it and say, do I need to take action? And you can't take action on everything. So maybe I need to review pending payments, use WorkCenter, tag it red, and put a note into WorkCenter. And know that your team is so conditioned that when they come in and they open their WorkCenter, the first thing they do after looking at appointment list is go over to the follow-up where you're asking for notes. So guys, this is process, right? Dig into and let's figure out the process. Okay, 3 o'clock. Appointment manager, we're looking at the legend. Okay, we get it. It's a legend. Okay, I don't know why we're looking at the legend. Let's see if it makes sense here. Watch this video. Let's watch this video. And guys, if you don't, some of you are newer at this, the legend in appointment manager is very helpful, right? All kinds of things to know. Appointment manager is, you should be able to look at the screen and it tell a story, right? Okay, well, let's watch this video here.
You might think of the word visit in the context of a friendly interaction or traveling to see friends or family. An office visit is intentional. It is a way to observe how the office functions and whether they are operating in a manner consistent with the expectations you set. Although you will handle the conversations differently in a remote visit, the core elements of an office visit remain the same. Here are those elements. Intentional purpose, scheduled in Outlook calendar. Duration of the visit defined, at least estimated. Recognition and reinforcement, feedback and coaching. Pre-cap, detailed notes, recap,
Oh my God.
follow-up plan. Let's dig into each of these. I cannot say it enough. You must be intentional about how you spend your time. When it comes to office visits, there must be a purpose for the visit. Your home-based planning is what drove you to visit that office for that purpose. You'll want to schedule your visits in your calendar. With remote visits, you need to invite the ATL to the Microsoft Teams meeting so you are assured that they are available to meet with you at that time. You should be blocking off your time on your calendar for at least the estimated time you will dedicate to the visit. Every visit should highlight things that are going well and things that could use improvement. Thank the ATL for their progress in the areas the office is doing well in. When possible, ask the ATL to schedule a team huddle during your visit so you can recognize individuals for their contributions as well. Reinforce exactly what is happening that you want to continue. The office is consistently hitting their daily revenue target. That's great. Ask them to share how they're accomplishing that goal and reinforce the positive behaviors that lead them to that result repeatedly. In your home-based planning, you've identified areas of opportunity as well. Some may be directed to the ATL, and others may be directed to one or more individual tax professionals. When you choose the day and time to conduct your visit, you should check the calendar to make sure the associates you want to talk to are available, or schedule separate meetings with them. I know you've heard about recap, but what about a pre-cap? Pre-cap is where you tell the ATL the purpose of the visit and what you want to discuss. Your ATL can prepare for the visit, and your conversations will be more productive. Now, detailed notes are an important part of any visit. The best way to tackle this in a remote visit is to use Microsoft Teams feature to type your notes. Your ATL can then view them real time while still in the meeting with you and ask clarifying questions or add information if needed.
What in the world did she just say? She said, use Microsoft Teams to capture your notes. How did we do that? Anyone know? Anyone know how to use Teams to capture notes?
There's
Whiteboard
a notes section for every Teams meeting.
or that.
You guys can't see what I'm sitting here like.
Can't see.
Here we go. So check it out. Here's the meeting. So say I wanted to take some notes. Meeting notes. Okay, so right up here on the three dots, meeting notes, not meeting options, meeting notes. Take notes. And as you're like, oh, hey, yikes, I lost my screen. I wonder if I can go back to split. You can see it's going to have the date, right? And then you can say, we could do something like this. Pre-cap, right? Today we will focus on, right? I gotta get better at this. This is showing me, yeah, that's pre-cap. And then I think down here, it was topic 1, topic 2, right? And then if I wanted to go into the next one, I bet I would hit this add new section. So I can do recap. Right? I wouldn't be surprised at all, guys, if we come up with more of a standardized template based upon what Bill wants to see. Bill is all about scheduled meetings, scheduled visits. And he really wants to make sure that there's planning that goes into it, that there's a specific purpose that goes into the meeting, and that there's follow-up, right? So kind of interesting using that tool. And if I come here and click on it again and go to meeting notes, it's probably going to pull up, yeah, it pulls it right back in. And then these notes are going to be cataloged for each of your visits. Pretty cool. Okay.
Here is where you find this option when you are in a Teams meeting.
Oh,
keep in mind, it only appears for a scheduled meeting, not just a Teams call. And what's also great about this is you can snip pictures of the reports you discussed during the visit and paste them right into the notes. Those notes become your recap of the visit. Now, a recap is not a long laundry list of the topics you covered. A recap is what you discussed and the outcomes of each discussion point. Remember, good visits are intentional conversations with a clear call to action in the end. You must close out the notes with clear action items and a follow-up plan. Action items are who will do what by when, and how you are going to validate it gets done. You should be able to see the impact of your action items within 48 to 72 hours. If you do not, reflect on if the correct behaviors and tactics were addressed during the visit and work to identify the root cause of the gap and adjust the actions. You can schedule calendar items to remind you of the action item deadlines. For example, ATL Jane will send you a summary of coaching conversations with tax pros to improve product attach. So you can reach out to Jane if she hasn't sent you the summary yet. Now, to be clear, you, the leader, are typing up the notes. Before you close out the visit, review the notes with the ATL to make sure you haven't left anything out and to confirm their understanding of the action items. Don't assume their understanding. Your ATL is not going to want to tell you if they don't get it. You need to ask them questions about how they intend to execute the action items to be sure they get it. Some questions you might ask are, do you know how to do X? Do you know where to find Y? What challenges will you encounter when you execute these action items? You get what I'm saying, right? Make sure they get it. Open the door to allow them to clarify things and make them feel safe to ask you how to do something or where to find it. Without this confirmation of understanding, your action items may not be completed. The goal is buy-in, not just head nod. Just replying okay is the virtual equivalent of a head nod, by the way. Speaking of questions, did I mention that skilled questioning is how you figure out what the action items should be? Your home-based planning pointed you to an issue, but it doesn't tell you why it's happening. Deep questioning is how you will uncover what behaviors are driving the issue. Don't assume that you know what's causing it. Confirm it. Only by uncovering what's causing it can you identify the action item that will correct it. If you think about all the elements of a great remote visit, which I just shared, you probably realize that these are really the elements of a great visit, not just remote visits. Using virtual tools, you can accomplish the same impact in a remote visit.
Okay, wow. As I sit here and I look through this, I'm sorry, I'm looking off like this, but I think back to last year's meeting. You remember when we were sitting at DTC and we were talking about what's going to be the cadence of our visits? How are you going to go on Mondays? Are you going to go here on this date? How are you going to communicate your morning message to them? Are you going to do it via an email? Are you going to have a huddle? You remember those conversations that we had? Think of what they just went through with us. Your meetings, your visits should be scheduled and they should be on the calendar. I don't do that. I am committing to you now that I will do that this year. I expect you guys to do the same. Get into a routine with your team. I will start to do like, I'm going to have one-on-ones on this day, this day, this day, and then my office visit days will be these days, right? So when we all just heard schedule meetings, do some virtual meetings, do them via Teams, have certain things that are included in there, and then recap using notes. Who did they say takes the notes?
The MTL.
We do.
Yeah. The leader types up the notes. So, question right now, do you think you'll be able to get to this level of detail? And if you won't, if you don't think you can, what stands in your way? I don't know, maybe it's a little rhetorical, but I know this. If you don't plan it, it won't happen. If you don't commit to it, it won't happen. Okay. One of my favorite sections so far was that video. I think that was phenomenal. Remote office visit tips. Conducted with intentional purpose, schedule and outlook. Okay, it's everything I just typed into the note above is right there. Take a screenshot of this. Watch this. If I love this, watch what I'm going to do. If I want this to stand out and be important, and I'm keeping my notes, you go like that. I copy. I've never done this before, so we'll see what happens. I come over here. I go into my notes. I take my notes. You guys can't see what I'm doing anymore. I don't know how to paste.
Try
Maybe
the,
you can't
three
paste.
dots, maybe.
Maybe you can't paste a snippet.
Click underneath picture, Tom. Not the plus sign. Click in there, yeah. And now, well, are you right clicking or left clicking?
I am right clicking.
Left click. Okay, now right click. Oh, interesting.
We'll have to get there. You know
Control
what?
V.
Trevor's got tricks that I don't know on screen shares.
Press Control V, man.
Control. Oh shoot!
Yeah,
Holy.
Control
shoot.
V's not working, man.
Yeah,
So
we're
can
not-
you see my note on the notes section in that
Yeah.
in there, Tom? At the top?
You guys are too good for me. Meeting. I need to go to meeting options.
Yeah, I
Hide
can see
meeting
your note
notes. I don't see the notes anymore. Oh, there they are. Notes. Oh my God.
Tom, if you want, you could always just paste that screenshot into chat.
You could.
Can you insert a picture? Like a file?
Okay.
Hey, we got to paste.
Control V.
Oh,
Paste V. That's control. Control V. I just did. Nothing happened.
oh.
But I didn't do Control C.
That's copy.
Right. So maybe I got to come over here. Control C.
It'll
We
go
got
in
to
the,
highlight it
it
first.
goes in the clipboard. Yeah, you could do that one.
Oh my God. Control C. It didn't do anything. Okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. Trevor, you're going to give us a tutorial next time we get together on how to cut and paste into notes. Okay. Here's the thing
You got
that
it.
I want to make sure that we don't. Oh my God, my stuff's all messed up now. That we don't let the technology stand in the way of the content of our message. Okay? I don't care if there's a neat, pretty picture. It may be helpful, but we'll get there. Baby steps. Tucker, you're sitting here, you're hearing a lot of this, right? And you're following along. How are you envisioning planning your week?
Well, the first part of my week is the virtual meeting I'm having with the Kipling office on Monday. And results to look at yet. So what I'm going to focus in on is what the priorities are for my tax pros and what the priorities are for H&R Block, and decide how each of those sets of priorities are going to be met.
So setting of expectations.
Yeah.
What I'm really kind of talking about here, let's just go here for a second. I get scared looking at that calendar. Okay, come over here to month. And what I want each of you to think about is this. Okay, so here we are. Oh, son of a gun. Here we are in the first week of the season, right? And do you do something like this? Okay, start time, 9 to 10. Make recurring. End date.
No, Tom, I just had a thought as far as scheduling like ATL meetings for something to consider. Being the PSM, you know, what we're looking at all the time is reports, and knowing when those reports are gonna pull, and then when your boss is gonna look at them. So, you know, it's always a factor to consider. So when you're considering any sort of calling campaigns or something like that, you know, how can you create enough time to course correct what you might need to be and then still get a good result on that report? So like, I think it's Thursday mornings we get reports. So maybe, you know, a Tuesday would be a good day to meet with your ATLs or something, so that they have that a day to actually get some movement on something. Just something to consider as you're planning your weeks.
I think so. What I'm kind of at this point in the game, what I want you guys to think about, and I'm not going to dictate this with each of you, but what I'm going to be doing is something like this. I'm going to be doing, let me open this one, because guess what? As I sat here, I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? So how do I get into the details? Where'd the details go? I guess here, edit recurrence. Okay. I know this isn't going to be good for me. So I'm going to do 8 from 9 every morning. Okay. Now I got that in there. And what am I doing every morning? District huddle, right? And that's going to be 9 to 9:30, and that's going to be a Teams call. You know, I could go ahead and I could go like this, and I could do required MTLs. I already know I want to do it. Now, I don't know if it's going to stick, right? And I got it in there, 9 to 9:30, make recurring. It's already recurring. I didn't make it recurring there. I just saved one. I open it up and I make recurring. And I say that's going to be every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Boom. And you guys just got an invite for every weekday at 9 o'clock. And then I could come through here and I could say, okay, what I plan to do on Tuesday mornings is this is going to be from 10 o'clock. Title, it's going to be office visits. Or no, not office visits, sorry. It's going to be MTL one-on-ones, right? And I do it from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 4 hours. Location is going to be a Teams meeting, right? I don't know who it's going to be with yet, but I'll go through and I'll set these up, right? And it's going to be recurring. And I'm going to do them every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 2. I hit OK. And I don't think it's going to let me send. No. So I'm not going to fill your all's calendars up right yet. But I think that we have to be very prescriptive in our schedule, our calendars. And if we don't set aside time and we don't schedule things out, things are going to fall through the cracks, right? Okay, that is 101 stuff there, scheduling out time. Okay, leading effective virtual meetings. Did we watch this one? Nope. Okay, so use that calendar.
According to a 2017 article in Wharton magazine, there are only 3 reasons to hold a meeting. The first reason is to create a forum, meaning an opportunity for individuals with different values, ideas, and experiences to share their perspectives. The second reason to meet is to make decisions. The third reason to meet is to build or strengthen a team. If you're not gathering for one or more of these 3 reasons, you might be wasting valuable time. As MTLs and TLs, you'll be holding meetings with your primary office team regularly. MTLs will also hold remote meetings with their ATL team and sometimes with the associates of a satellite office. The uncertainty of COVID-19 tells us that all leaders need to be skilled and prepared to hold virtual meetings. Before I talk specifically about the nuances of a virtual meeting, I do want to share some general tips for all meetings. First, like everything else you've learned in this course, meetings should be intentional. What is the purpose of the meeting? Do you even need a meeting? Be very clear on why you are holding the meeting. Always start and end on time. This is simple respect for everyone's time. Create an agenda and share it with attendees, giving them enough time to prepare to participate. A good tip for agendas is instead of listing how many minutes per topic, show the start and end time of each topic. That way, everyone can see if the meeting is running true to schedule at a glance without doing math. Lastly, have all reports, applications, and visuals ready to use in the meeting in advance. Don't waste precious time finding what you need to show them during the meeting. Now, let's talk a little bit about how you need to prepare to conduct a virtual meeting. We've already talked about communicating remotely. You'll put what you learned earlier to use in virtual meetings. The most important thing to do to make your virtual meetings a success is to set clear behavioral expectations. Let me explain what I mean. In a face-to-face meeting, everybody is in the same room, and as a leader, you can control the distractions. In a virtual meeting, everybody is in a different room. Set the expectation that you expect them to be in a private space without distractions and able to participate, to listen, and to speak up. How do you want to handle the mute button situation? Most computer microphones pick up even the slightest sound. If a participant moves a piece of paper across their desk, everybody will hear it. and whatever sound the meeting is playing will interrupt what you might be saying. For that reason, I recommend you train your team to actively use the mute button. Mute themselves when they are not talking and unmute when they need to speak up to respond or share. And what about webcams? Not everybody will have a webcam. We expect the leader of the meeting to be on camera, but whether others are on camera should be at your discretion and should be respectful of whether participants have access to a webcam. One quick tip about your webcam: when you are on camera, you want to look at the camera, not at the faces on your screen. This can be challenging because you've been taught to make eye contact and the eyes are on the screen. If it helps, you can put a picture of someone right above your camera or even a post-it note that says, "Look here," to remind yourself to look in the camera when speaking. When others are speaking, it is natural to look at them on the screen, but look at the camera when you are speaking so they can look you in the eye. Other expectations should be to put your team status on Do Not Disturb during meetings so emails and instant messages are paused. Ask participants to put their phones on silent. Another thing that comes up is whether it's okay to eat during a meeting. This might only matter if you're all on camera, but if there's a chance of it, set the guideline whether it's okay or not. There is no hard, fast rule on this. These days, it's hard to find a time to meet that doesn't spill into one or more of a participant's mealtime. Let them know that you expect no multitasking. They are to actively participate in the meeting. You should set this expectation, but know that you control it by how often you ask for participation in your meeting. If you're running a meeting to be a human bulletin board where you're just reading memos out loud, you will lose them. Keep them engaged and they won't have a chance to multitask. I also suggest setting an expectation that they should come prepared to participate. It's the reason you circulate the agenda, to tell them what topics you'll ask them to speak about. Participation in a virtual meeting is tricky. Face-to-face, you can raise your hand and take turns talking. When you can't see each other, how does that work? Well, Microsoft Teams does have the raise hand functionality. I suggest that you become skilled at using that. Tell your participants they should use the raise hand button to respond and share. You will need to watch for raised hands and try your best to call on them in the order that they raised their hand. That can get tough, but at a minimum, make sure everybody who raises their hand is allowed to share. You'll also need to wait a little bit longer for participation. There's always that silence right after you ask a question where the participants are deciding whether they want to be the first one to speak up. This can be and feel longer in a virtual environment. Be okay with that. It can feel a little uncomfortable. I've found that 10 to 20 seconds is a really long time to wait, but is probably about the most you should wait before calling on someone. Want to see what I mean? If I ask you all, who would like to share a tip for offering peace of mind to clients, and I pause.
Me, I do.
That was a 10-second pause. How did that feel to you? You probably checked to make sure the video didn't freeze, right? That was just for perspective. You should feel comfortable calling on people to respond, just like you would during an in-person meeting. You sent them the agenda and set the expectation that they would all be asked to participate. Speaking of questions, ask good questions. Use questions effectively to gain participation and ideas, but not as a weapon. Never ask a question in a group setting that is a gotcha. A gotcha question is one where you know they'll never get it right and you call them out for being wrong. Gotcha questions have no place in a team meeting. Good questions are specific yet open-ended. Let's say the topic is drop-off client service. Which of these two questions is a better way to gain great ideas? How can we improve drop-off client service? Or, What could we do to stay in communication with our drop-off clients so they feel confident about our progress with their return? Of course, the second one is the better question. It's more specific. The first question may get you some ideas, but they may not hit the key point of communicating with drop-off clients. I suggest that you prepare questions in advance and consider writing them on your agenda to give your participants time to gather their thoughts before the meeting. You will also need to manage participation in a virtual meeting to make sure that nobody is hiding. By hiding, I mean never speaking up or sharing. In a face-to-face meeting, you can look around the room and mentally see who is and who is not participating. In a virtual meeting, you probably need to be more intentional about tracking who's participating. I usually keep a printed roster right by my side during virtual meetings, and I make tick marks by the names as they participate. That helps me see at a quick glance if someone hasn't shared yet, and I can call on them for the next topic. One of the toughest things to do in a virtual meeting is achieve that natural relationship building amongst team members that happens when you all gather in a room together.
You guys, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I was ribbing on Jose there, and she said something about tick marks and hash marks. What was she saying? Anyone know?
I was following your chat.
It was about so somebody doesn't hide. So as they talk, you can tick mark the roster to show so you know who's participated.
How do you do that? You come over. Oh wait.
They said print out a roster to start, like before.
Oh, so that's not in Teams.
Right. So you just have a printed roster that you can like mark on when people talk, so you know who's not hiding.
Yeah, I think our team does. Our instructor team does a real good job of saying things like, "Hey, I need everyone to, raise your hand if you can see me." And then everyone's raising their hand. I don't know if Teams, I guess with Teams, you could do things like this, maybe, where, can you draw? Does anyone know?
You can go to the whiteboard to draw.
Yeah, but you can't draw on here, so it's not like WebEx. Okay, let's not get sidetracked. Just, I think really what I'm really liking about this is as they go along, we're kind of setting up and establishing best practices for us amongst this team, right? So it's kind of cool. I'm liking it.
You're walking in the meeting room, greeting each other, asking how they've been or how their family is, or maybe a common interest. People tend to chit-chat with each other informally before the meeting actually begins. Believe it or not, you can still do this in virtual meetings. It just takes some effort on your part to make it happen. Open your meeting early, say 5 or so minutes before the start time. When you open a Teams meeting, an alert goes to every participant invited that you've opened the meeting. People will start to join, and you can encourage that camaraderie. Welcome them by name as they join. Ask different participants different questions, not meeting topics, but about themselves and their family. It may feel a little forced in the beginning, but over time, you'll find that your associates that attend virtual meetings with you regularly start talking to each other as they join, just as they would if they were face-to-face in a meeting room. Well, that's it. You are already well on your way by participating in these virtual training sessions. With your participant experience here and the tips I've shared, you are ready to hold engaging virtual meetings.
Yay.
Awesome. Okay, virtual meeting challenges, Tax Pro 2 Medallia dashboard, technology malfunction, technology operator error, multitasking participants and talking over each other, and no participation. So I think I don't know exactly what they mean. Oh, maybe you're giving a medallia, you're working with the tax pro, you're going through the dashboard. And this is real stuff here, guys, where certain people have technology issues. They can't get onto the meetings to save their life. They just aren't comfortable with it. We are very early on, guys, and I would ring that out with your ATLs now. I would say by, the time we're meeting up after the holiday, after Thanksgiving, you should kind of make sure that your ATLs are able to get onto a Teams call and overcome and do screen sharing and things like that. Okay, let's keep moving on. All good stuff here again, defining the purpose of the meeting, gathering reports. The more information you can give people in advance, the better, and I think I can also be more strategic in my approach with that. I'm very much a manage in the moment. And I think as a company, we're very reactive. So you can have the best laid plans and they kind of sometimes get a little messed up. But, we as a company are also trying to streamline what we're looking at so that we can focus a bit more. So remote feedback and coaching. Let's watch this one.
Now that you have already completed the course Elements of Coaching, we can focus on how you give feedback and coach performance in a remote setting. Just to recap some highlights you learned in that course, coaching is done either to reinforce and drive improvement of effective behaviors or to correct ineffective behaviors. It's important to focus on behaviors and tie them to performance goals. Do you remember what the GROW model stands for? G is for goal, meaning what is the expected outcome you are going to discuss. R is for reality. State what the results are currently and any observations you can offer to dig under the cause. O is for options, to help your associate brainstorm a list of possible actions they can take to correct it. W is for will. Agree on the chosen solution and the time frame to implement it. I want to take you back to the first section of this course, communication. In a remote feedback and coaching session, you must rely only on verbal cues from your associate. If you're face-to-face, you can make eye contact and see head nods. You can even tell from their expression if they're stuck or confused or if they disagree. Because you cannot see those things in a remote conversation, you have to focus on the words, pauses, and tone that can give you those indicators. And when all else fails, just ask. Be transparent. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are meeting remotely with a brand new CSP in a satellite office. During one-on-ones with your ATL, you learned that this CSP is unable to manage the lobby area during busy times. The ATL has had several conversations with her, setting the expectations of how to prioritize greeting at the door, answering the phone, and checking on waiting clients. The behaviors haven't changed. And you're approaching peak, so you need to help get this under control. Now, you've stated the goal and your reality, and ask her to share her reality by saying this. What challenges are you having with managing the lobby during busy times? Then there is silence, long silence. Is she not sure what to say? Is she angry? Is she trying to figure out how to tell you how she feels? You can't know. You have to break the silence and just ask, are you thinking about how to answer the question? I need you to be honest with me so we can work together to solve this. Reassure her of your positive intention. Remember, she can't see you either. She might be wondering if you're mad and be afraid to tell you what's going on. When you coach an associate about their performance, a great way to show them you care about a positive outcome is to pull in other successes they've had And maybe they can apply that to the area of improvement. For example, you praise the associate who has phenomenal peace of mind and tax identity shield bundle attach rates, and you ask them to share how they do it. Then ask how they can apply those same tactics to securing a second look review for every new client. Showing them that you recognize their strengths will lower their defenses in talking about areas of improvement. Now, the best way to learn how to give feedback and coach remotely is to practice. Your DGM will now lead you through role play practice.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh, not what I meant to do.
Now that you
You'll want to use client experience coaching form. Okay, so we're going to do some role playing based upon this customer service medallion scores here. What are your personal challenges with coaching remotely and how will you overcome them? So I think that's a great question. You know, I think each one of you probably have different levels of comfort doing this. And I've certainly done a lot of these meetings now, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with the way I set up my screens and whatnot. And, you know, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit vulnerable here, and I am going to go around the horn, not judging, just want to get a sense of where you all stand with, I feel comfortable sending a Teams invite. I feel comfortable getting the screens all set up and being able to see me and lead a meeting with my ATLs. So Chuck, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your comfort level with Teams and having a Teams meeting with your ATLs?
Comfort level would probably be pretty high, towards the 8. As far as the technical side, I don't really have any problems setting it up or working Teams. It's actually pretty intuitive. I haven't seen any problems on my side for that. Mine would be imposter syndrome and just leading the ATL still and getting comfortable in the actual execution of the meetings rather than the technical aspects.
Yeah, technically good. Content, still fine tuning. Jose, how are you feeling with the, you know, leading the teams?
Pretty good. I'd say 8 or 9. This morning actually had about an hour Teams with Michelle. She was having trouble with Block Academy. Sorry about that. So that helped her a lot too. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable.
Excellent. Denise.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say about a 7, maybe an 8. I'm pretty comfortable with requesting and setting it up. My thing is making sure I have it organized and my documents in the correct place so that I can share them properly.
Yeah, that's interesting because see, we're all different. I'm very comfortable being in the, hey, let's pull this sucker up and go through it phase because my time, I just don't, there's no prep time in my job right now, right? So, you know, but that's funny. That tells me something about Denise. A pop-in visit with no agenda is probably going to make her a little crazy, right? She's not going to like that so much. Okay, Austin.
I would say I'm a 9 or a 10. I feel very comfortable with Teams and just setting up meetings like that. Got a lot of good practice through the up-level meetings and stuff with the ATLs, the interviews.
And how did, I know many of you hosted your virtual town halls and many of you are engaging, as I just heard Jose say, engaging with your ATLs and doing these meetings. How was the team? Were they real receptive to the Teams meetings?
Mine was very receptive and asked if we could just get together a couple more times before the season started. So they really enjoyed it. Just, I think, being able to see one another and just doing it
I
that
got
way.
the same request.
Person.
They want more of those.
Yeah, I found that where it really came to life to me was our high participation rate on town hall meetings. And then also when I'm doing the SOP and MEs, they really like the fact that they can get in, attend a meeting for an hour, hour and a half, and then shut down and be at home. There's no driving, there's no planning. I mean, we were spending so much time scheduling and planning. We were spending more time driving and planning than we were on content. So pretty cool.
And Trevor? I'll tell you, oh, sorry, real quick. I did an interview today via Teams. And so it was really nice. I wish I would have known then about the notes feature, because I would have used it for sure instead of jotting everything down. But I think she was comfortable with knowing that I was writing stuff down, but it was great.
Yeah. And I think also, like, when you do an interview, it really is self-selecting. Like, if someone gets a Teams interview and they can't figure out how to get on, or they can't take the time, they don't make the time to get on, it tells you a little bit about their skill set. So it's kind of like that first obstacle, right? Can't make it to the meeting, can't figure it out, can't pick up the phone and call, not a good sign. Trevor, skill set on, are you kidding me, Jose? Is that truly your tie drawer?
Yeah, it is.
OMG.
I actually threw some old ones out.
I'm jealous.
Look at that. Sneak peek into Jose's wardrobe. Very nice. Okay, thank you. That's awesome. My tie drawer. Okay, Trevor, how are you feeling with skill on Teams?
Good. Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Maybe. There's some things I don't know, I guess, so can't go 10 out of 10.
Confident. Okay, Tucker. Okay, you're still on mute. There you go.
Like a 10, but now I feel like a 1. But I feel pretty comfortable with the technology part. I was surprised how easy it was to put together a virtual meeting. And the things that I worry about have more to do with, for example, throwing together a PowerPoint presentation, 4 or 5 slides with my team, and having it come across the way it's supposed to come across so they can see it and get the most out of it. But aside from that, I'm very comfortable on screen.
Okay. I think that's a really good point, content management and the message that you're trying to get across. And it plays into what Denise was talking about as well. I got a lot of feedback from you guys that said, hey, thank you for putting that deck together for the virtual meeting. It really helped me kind of lead the conversation. Do you know how long that deck took me? Maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. Do you know how long a deck took me before, I was comfortable with it? Hours, days, weekends, I would fret. It's a skill. It's a skill. And, don't feel like you always have to have a deck to have a meeting. Don't ever delay, just have the meeting. But at the same time, I think it's a really good exercise to putting together a deck forces you to streamline your message. So it is a good practice. And I think, that's what, even Chuck was saying a little bit of, I'm fine with the technology. It's like, what the heck do I talk about? And how do I get these guys moving in the right direction? So thank you for going around. And, I really just wanted to, everyone's feeling pretty good with technology, and poor John, Kelsey, and Lenny are running our offices right now.
John's on the call on the phone number, I think.
John, are you there, or are you with a client? Yeah, he's probably knee deep with clients.
Tom, I don't know if you saw GroupMe, but Emerald Advance is down, so they're probably running around with their hair on fire.
Yeah, and I think Lenny said it was an IT issue. It's a global issue.
Yeah, it's a known issue on DNA. They're trying to resolve it. Nothing we can do, unfortunately.
Bummer. What tips did you learn from your partners or the team during the debrief that you want to remember to use? Coaching sessions, we didn't really debrief. Well, we kind of did. I just want to make sure, guys, that it is really, really important to me that you guys work together and you rely on one another, and you're each a part of a team, and certain people have certain skills, and reach out to one another and talk to one another. There is, have humility, right? No one is judging. No one, if we're pushing and we're trying to get something done, we're not passing judgment. We're trying to win as a team. If you're falling behind and you don't understand something, stop the presses, ask for help, right? So, really important. Work from anywhere. I am very curious to watch this 5 minutes here.
Does
I'm not
anyone
here.
else not have sound?
Yeah,
I was just asked that on mute.
No sound, Tom.
No sound.
No
Why
sound.
isn't there sound?
How'd you manage to do this, Tom? Kill the sound on.
I don't know. Let me start over. Hold on.
One thing you can say about people at H&R Block, when faced with a challenge, we find a way.
Good?
It was working, yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it died.
To persevere.
We're
In
good.
tax season 20, the pandemic forced us to quickly adapt and find ways to serve clients even when it was not possible to be physically present in an office. The work from home initiative was designed and implemented in 30 days. We developed new technology, and a substantial number of tax professionals were able to continue to work and serve clients remotely. Although it was necessity that pushed us in this direction in tax season 20, it is intentional in tax season 21 that we make this available again and appropriately name it Work from Anywhere. To be clear, work from anywhere is not a job position. It is an option for tax professionals who demonstrate strong work ethic and a desire to be more productive. Work from anywhere is a designation in Workday that you as the leader can activate for any tax professional for one or more shifts of work. The process will work the same in tax season 21. Eligible tax professionals will download a remote desktop to their personal computer. From this remote desktop, tax professionals will have access to several tax office systems, including those listed here: BlockWorks, Appointment Manager, Work Center, Kronos, Fin and IMR, Tax Resolution Services, TaxPro Wallet, and the eFile Center.
Wow.
Now, prior to approving a tax professional to work from anywhere, the tax professional.
Did she just say that that's everything you're gonna have access to all that stuff? BlockWorks, Appointment Manager, Work Center, Kronos, Fin, TRS, TaxPro Wallet. Wow. You know where we need to start with this? Do you guys have access to all of that personally right now?
Everything.
Yes.
Not like I should.
BlockWorks
checked
and
all
Work
of them.
Center.
Okay. Austin, what'd you say?
Everything. Well, we already have without being in the program or anything. We already have everything except BlockWorks and Work Center.
We can't see clients in Work Center.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, we do have some Work Center stuff, but it's kind of like limited.
Okay, cool.
IMR, Tax Resolution Services, Tax Pro Wallet, and the e-file center. Now, prior to approving a tax professional to work from anywhere, the tax professionals will need to meet the following requirements to participate. That includes having a personal computer with a Windows 10 operating system, have internet speeds of at least 5 megabits per second up and down, have a quiet space to work at home, have the ability to call and text from a personal phone. Think of work from anywhere shifts as above and beyond regular office coverage shifts, not a full-time option. If a tax professional has several clients who have uploaded documents and they just need the quiet time to complete the returns, a work from anywhere shift is a great way to get those returns done. Work from anywhere shifts do not need to be reflected in Appointment Manager because the tax professional is completing returns for existing clients and or maybe working their WIP returns by messaging or calling clients. When you are considering allowing a tax pro for a work from anywhere shift, you are accountable for making sure they are using that shift productively. A best practice might be to ask the tax pro to send you a list of what they intend to complete during the shift. Then, when they return to the office, request a summary of exactly what was accomplished and verify that it was completed. You're responsible for monitoring the productivity of tax pros who work from anywhere shifts. Whereas in an office, you can see who is doing what. When the associate is working remotely, you must rely on information in WorkCenter and BlockWorks to validate that the work was done. Now, if a tax pro works one or more work from anywhere shifts and does not complete returns or otherwise move returns forward towards completion, you should consider denying them any additional work from anywhere shifts until they can demonstrate the ability to be productive when working outside the office. Unless COVID-19 or another situation forces us back into those alternative operating models, work from anywhere shifts are a privilege that should not be abused. This puts extra focus on your timekeeping verification as well. Make sure that work from anywhere shifts are properly clocked in and out. I would also suggest that you stay in touch with tax pros who work consecutive work from anywhere shifts. All tax pros should be working scheduled shifts in the office according to their availability. But if someone does end up working several work from anywhere shifts in a row, be sure to stay in communication with them. You may want to do a one-on-one via Teams or telephone to reconnect and discuss their workload and productivity. Tax pros working a work from anywhere shift should be accessible to you, just as they would be if working in the office. You may have questions for them or need to follow up with one of their clients. The key point for this part of your leadership role is do not let work from anywhere tax pros become out of sight, out of mind. The work from anywhere option is a tool to help you grow your office more efficiently. You own how you use this tool to grow.
Okay, boy, I've been talking with some of your tax pros today and slowly digging in to this. So we got to make sure we lead this right. So I wrote up here, I'm going to ask each of you to identify 10 tax pros in your pods and begin the process of getting them set up for work from anywhere. We should be able to push this through by middle of next week. Okay, this isn't a big time crunch for you. This is one of those tasks where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to think through this. No, you don't. Not really. It's not that hard. You know who your team is. I just asked for 10 people. That's pretty much everyone on your team, right? Okay, now, next step. You got 10 people. What's the next step that you got to take? The first step is, do they have the right internet access? Do they have the right tools? The second step is getting in touch with me and saying, I've verified that A, B, and C tax pros have the right stuff, have the right tools. I put it into Workday, and then that opens up their Block Academy training so that they can be trained. Then comes all of the talk down here of how we manage that process. This is really, to me, a big culture shift. I am really into trying to build a honor system and trust that we have professionals that aren't sitting there turning on, clocking into Chronos and going and watching TV. I just don't think we have those people on our team. I really don't. But, we need to make sure that we have some checks and balances in place. Power BI, checking Chronos. When they go into Chronos now, they can click work from home so that we can then pull back and understand this person worked 5 hours of work from home and they did no productivity during that time. But really, I'm not looking for one-to-one, hey, you worked 2 hours last night and you didn't do any returns. You didn't do any approve online. What I'm really looking for is a bigger message, if their productivity rating in Power BI is really high, do I care if they're sitting in an office or sitting at home? I don't care. They're producing. That's the way I want to lead this, right? So this is kind of like that CSP exercise. This is kind of like that. When we say we want to get it done, we can trust one another that we're going to get it done. I could easily send out a communication and pick the 50, 80 people, send them a communication and say, this is what I want you to do. I could do that in a half hour. In fact, I had everything drafted and ready to go about 2 weeks ago. And I stopped myself because I want you guys involved in this process. Okay, so what I want to make sure that we do, it's Friday evening, so you're not going to start this communication right now. But I want to, by Wednesday of next week. But wait, are we working next week? Do we have allotted training time? How much time? This is a 1 hour, 2 hour task. Send a message out to your people. Send some communication on how to do this and lay it out. So let me lay it out a little bit more clearly. So here's DNA. And I started working on this with Marcus and Shelly Ann this morning. Work from anywhere in the search bar. It rolls up. Second time I do it. I really don't know why it does that. It's really kind of annoying, but it does. I'll put my message in twice. Okay, here's the work from anywhere. Right here. I had Shelly Ann, she pulled it up. She's like, I see it, Tom, got it. I have internet access. And it lays it out really, or she has the right stuff. It lays it out. The first step is to ask them to follow the following questions to ensure all technology requirements are met before enabling them in work from anywhere. Do they have? Bump, 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 bump. Now, Austin, surprisingly, Marcus said that this link didn't work for him and that he couldn't get it to work. And do I have another link for him? I don't think so. So I was kind of surprised to hear that, and then Shelly Ann say that it works. So while we're walking through this, can one of you click on that and see if it works? So go into DNA and check it out. All they got it. Were you saying something, Austin?
I will check.
Thank you. All they got to do is set this up. Do this. Give you a thumbs up. You let me know. I don't need 5 different ones, 5 different emails. I'm already getting inundated with Chronos punches and P10s and you name it. Give me a listing. Here are my 5 people. They've verified that they have internet access. They have the right stuff. I will then go in and tag them in Workday so that they are coded for work from anywhere. And then the final step is about 24 to 48 hours later, they will get the work from anywhere training in Block Academy. That's step one,
Hey, Tom,
getting them up to speed. Yep.
that page is down in DNA right now. Either it's because it says not found, so either it's down or I don't have access to it.
That's interesting. So why
I got the same thing.
So it doesn't even pull up this page? Okay. That's what I thought it would do, but Shelly Ann said that she was able to get in and do it. So that's interesting. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, that's what Marcus was saying, he needs the link. So it's almost like he could see this. So I'll put together a communication to you guys, and I'll include the link that you can then forward out to your appropriate people. This is the easiest step in the process right here.
Trevor said he got in though.
Tucker got in.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
You called Trevor Tucker?
I
I
did.
called Tucker Trevor.
I called Tucker Trevor.
Yes, it's
The
really
3 T's.
Trucker Trevor Tom. Okay, so this is really, guys, the easiest step is getting them, yep, I have the right stuff, getting them signed on and getting them trained. The harder part is managing how to use it. You know, so like it happens, we need to be ahead of this because we just quarantined 9 tax pros. 9 tax pros that, by the way, don't want to be quarantined. They want to continue to work. If I had them already set up and we were already scanning in documents, this would have been smooth sailing. We would have shifted right into remote like that. Oh, Shelly Ann, you have 5 appointments scheduled tomorrow. Why don't we call those clients up and, you know, start to serve them remotely? So this is going to be this right here. You remember we talk about bold things that we do. That's not company direction. We're going to do it because we're going to be bold. We're going to get ourselves ahead of the game. And I guarantee you within a week to 2 weeks, there's going to be all kinds of user guides and more direction, and everyone in the company is going to start doing it. And we're going to be one step ahead because our team is familiar with it. They're signed up in Workday and they've already started doing it. Whew, that was fun.
Tom, you said you wanted 10, right? So
yeah, 5 to 10, depending upon your team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like obviously for me, Castle Rock is bigger than Pavilion as far as staff. So
like the people that I would do first and foremost, I would pick. Here's my thought process on selection. Early adopters. Well, no, early adopters, people that are incredibly comfortable with technology. Might not be Diane, right? But we need it to be Diane because she's going to be an FTP. So you look at early adopters comfortable with technology. Then I started thinking through, because I already made the list once, I started thinking through and tagging people that have full-time jobs. And by the time they get home, we're already roughly closed. There's only an hour left in the day. So I was like, you know what? I want the Chris Claggett's, the Liz Ingstroms, there's 30 of them. I want them all to have internet access or work from home access because they want to work. They just can't get into an office quickly enough. So I looked at that as one of the qualifiers. I don't think that what we need to try to avoid is people that say, well, I don't ever want to come into an office. I'm only going to do work from home right now. That's not a tool. That's not an option that we have, right? And we need to, when I said the harder part is that, how we use it, I want you guys to clearly set that expectation with your team early on. Chuck, raise the hand.
So the fulfillment tax pros, are they automatically in this, or are they part of the 10 that we're selecting?
Put them in there now. I would go ahead and have them start signing up so that they can get ahead. I have a training calendar in December. On December 7th, we're going to have a rollout town hall with everyone, and Ron's going to roll out the pilot. And then we start going through dedicated training by role, you know, ILT training. So go ahead, I would put them on this FTP, or yes, they would be one of the first people I would select. Okay. I have no idea where there it is. Okay. So be very careful, guys, that they understand that work from anywhere is a tool. It's not like a license to go work from anywhere and never come back in an office. Okay. Oh my God, are we done? This never happens. I'm done 22 minutes early. Okay.
Ron set you up with success, saying, you know, the other day that you gave us all that time back, and now look at, here we go again.
Yeah, shoot, we're off to a good start. Okay, so at this point, hey, I got a thumbs up from Tucker.
It's test time.
It's test time. So, you know, remember this morning we kind of went through where everyone stood, and many of you just had this section and like one other one, I forget what it was, maybe yesterday, this morning's, I don't know, it was one of them, I can't remember. But let's make sure we're 100% done with part one. No, ideally by end of day today, but some of you are a little bit further behind, definitely by end of day Sunday, okay? I don't need to sit here and kill another 20 minutes. Do you guys have anything pressing, anything you need to go over? Okay, start, you know, like one of the things that I'm noticing, especially with the report that came out that I sent you guys, this report today. The email that I would really focus on is this one, not enrolled. So we have, now some of them, man, I got to be really, really careful. I just popped out an email to Christina Albright, who's a new TKA, and to William Brown, you know, so there's a lot of our new people. That's why I'm starting to get these weird emails, is because I didn't filter well. I was moving too quick, and I sent out this message to everyone. So here's a list, guys. Of 59 people that haven't enrolled in Skills to Win training yet. And maybe 5 or so of them are new and in error got this message because they don't know anything about it. How does this happen here? Ryan, I'll call you back in like 5. Thank you. How does this happen? Let's look at this, okay? Hoda, she's 20% of the way done with her skills, but she hasn't enrolled. How does that happen? Anyone want to? Yeah.
She's just going in and she's selecting the classes one by one instead of downloading the curriculum module.
This is exactly what she's doing. She's going down here to Tax Pro Tax Advisor. She's going to the passport. She's typing in the names of these classes and she's taking them. Right? No harm, no foul. It's just not really the technical way to do it. And it will be a harm in the reporting. So what she needs to do is this. She needs to go here to Block Academy. Well, here, let me show you. She needs to go to Block Academy. And down here in Assign Training, pull up that Skills to Win, TS21, whatever it's titled, right? So look here. This will just take a minute. If I go in to Hoda, and I wish you guys could do this because it would make life a lot easier for you. If I go into Hoda and I come down here, I notice she doesn't have what? Oh, well, that's interest. No, buyback. She downloaded the wrong thing. Somehow she downloaded, she's working off of this. It's the wrong one. So if I'm Tucker, I'm looking at this and saying, and Tucker would have no way of knowing, right? He can't do what I just did. But what Tucker can do is say, hey, Hoda, let's do a real quick Teams. Share screen. I want to see your transcript. Oh, by golly, look at that. You got the wrong one downloaded. This is what you need to do. Go back to your transcript scene. Oh yeah, you see over there where it says assign training, click on that. There you go, you got the right one. And what does she need to do with this one to make it go away? And I'm tempted, I am half tempted to make it go away for her so that she can't continue to use it. Should I do it, guys? It'll drive her nuts. Tucker, you want me to make it go away?
No, I don't. She won't understand it, and she'll just.
She'll go nuts.
Now, my question to you is, when she clicks on that link underneath Assign Training, will the courses she's completed migrate over there?
They go right in.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's the same problem that everyone had with this up top. They weren't downloading this. They were just going in and doing the individual courses. And then when they downloaded this, it made more sense. So we can see with her, she's got to take her case study in Office, right? And then she's done. She's done with part 2. Then she goes into these last 3 steps. Okay, so what is she looking for? She's going to her transcript screen, assign training. And if I go over here and I put in Scott Bridgeford, this is what you're looking for. And well, you see his is gone. Why isn't his there? Chuck, you know why it's not there?
It's finished.
He's finished. It's completed. And, you know, I know this, I know our communication, I know our town halls, I know this is all working because I'm getting very, very few people that are saying, hey, what's going on here? And when I get them, I'm sending them to you guys. I had someone with a crazy ass question today. I had another one with a crazy ass question. I forwarded it. I said, Austin, can you check so-and-so, make sure they're not on the turkey list? And he copied me in on the response to her. And he said, you're on the list, fill out the survey as Tom directed and you'll get your turkey, right? So, you know, I know the communication is there. This is what you're looking for. Boom, bam, he's done. I can't look at it anymore. Okay, so guys, back to this. You know, this is concerning that we have 59 people that haven't started. I don't have a way to sort it by office number. Some of these I'm not as concerned with, you know, well, you get it. I guess I could have done this. SAS new, if I had removed that, it probably would have taken off like Christina and William. Yeah, if I'd have just done that, it would have been good. Okay, so guys, it's Friday. Have a nice evening. Do me a favor. Our back is against the wall on CSP, on hiring, on skills to win training. Let's really together collectively push through this and have a sense of urgency. Let's not be like, oh, well, we'll get to it on Monday. Everything will be good. You know, take 5-10 minutes, send out some messages, push a little bit, send Trevor, hey, let's offer this CSP this role, you know, so that we can keep those tracks greased. That's it. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, and I will talk to you soon. I don't think I have anything on the schedule next week. I may put a few things. Anyone going out of town? Any? Was that
Not
you?
anymore.
No.
I'm planning on going back home to Kansas.
You know what the wonderful thing
Tuesday
about
night.
you know what the wonderful thing about working remotely is? It doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
That's right. I had training in the back of a car.
With a baby.
Yes.
So, you know, look, I'm not going to be, one last thing. I'm not going to be that guy who's sitting there on Thursday morning, but I will be that guy every day from here until the 30th, standing on people to get their CE done, including you guys that aren't done. 18 hours, Sunday, right? So please help me with this. I can't afford to be the bad cop with your tax pros, right? I'll be a kind of bad cop, but I really need you guys to help me understand what their plan is. We cannot afford to lose anyone right now. We got to maintain all these folks, okay? So it's your responsibility to help get them across the finish line. That's it. I'm done. Talk to you guys later. Thank you for a very good meeting, and let's nail out this training. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Good
Tom.
weekend.
Take care.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, Trevor. Stay on. You got it. You still there, Trevor? Trevor? You there, Trevor? Or you might be on a call. Okay.